Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have another really cool strap showcase from you guys from MkIII Strap Company. A little about them, they are founded by watch enthusiast Brando B. Delgado with the belief that every watch strap that they craft should evoke a spirit of perseverance and strength, like sailors gripping tightly to rigging amidst a storm, hence their hold fast motto. Big thank you to Brando and MkIII Strap Co. for sending in the following samples for review. Now, we're going to be looking at the latest iteration of their Deployant nylon strap, the MkIII. We do have the black and the gold finger colorways. These are really, really fun, and I'm glad to see a constant state of evolution. Also in the middle there, you're going to notice their new Deployant elastic strap, which is essentially going to be taking their signature strap formula and apply that with an elastic nylon, not too dissimilar from what you might find in, a Marine Nationale style in terms of that parachute rigging, which is fantastic. So I'm really glad to see kind of worlds collide, as well as seeing more development. I will say that the Deployant elastic strap was something that I did pitch to Brando, so I'm glad that it came through. I think it turned out really, really well. And again, I didn't suggest that they even needed to improve anything with their MkII strap, but here they are with a MkIII that adds even more refinement. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get these pieces in hand, and take a closer look. Okay guys, now before we jump in, let's talk about price, because I know I feature some pretty expensive straps on the channel, as well as some more affordable ones. What I like about these is they're kind of in the middle. And so for those of you that are really big on you get what you pay for, rest assured that these are not going to feel like any lesser than some of the more expensive options out there. I do feel like you're definitely getting your money's worth. So these are actually all the same price. So they're $75 with that Deployant buckle, guys, which you're gonna see here is going to be that familiar Omega style, really nicely finished, and it does the job. Very clean, and there's a reason why these types of Deployant buckles have really caught on outside of OEM Omega watches, and it works really well. So I dig that. So if you have an Omega strap or an Omega Deployant, and you're putting this on a Omega watch and it fits, that's even better. So you do have that option. But without it, if you're just getting the strap alone here, even for this very nice, ooh, check that out. Oh, I love this. I just love that you got the silicone backing there. Very, very cool. You're getting these for about $30 a strap. So if you're just going to get the strap and you only need one Deployant, for me, I like to have everything set up. But for those of you that might be more budget conscious, you might just want to have one and then you kind of move it along so you're not spending too much money on straps, which can be a bit addicting. And ooh, check that out for those of you that are new to the channel. Yes, an automatic Flight Master. This actually predates the quartz one that is very popular. So this one came first. So this isn't just like the quartz version was a quartz version of this. It wasn't the other way around. This isn't some like special edition to honor the quartz Flight Master. This is the thing that, inspired the quartz Flight Master. And I absolutely love this watch. Now, in terms of iconography though, you gotta love micro brands. They do it, guys. Raven, this is one of their older Trekkers. This has the gilt setup and it is gorgeous. And of course, that big crown style with the red triangle absolutely ties in to that original Connery Bond gold finger vibe, and that's what this strap is named after. So again, price wise, I think these are very, very competitive. No, they're not the cheapest. Can you find cheaper alternatives? Could you jerry rig something? Sure. But it's nice to have a brand from a brand runner, and this is his original idea. So anything that you see like this that comes after is pretty much a knockoff of these originals. Although these are, now newer iterations and evolutions of that original idea. I love that this is his idea. He brought this to market and I think it works really, really well. It's become kind of his signature product. So in terms of what the MkIII, in terms of what it adds to the recipe here, it does add 2 notches of extra adjustability in terms of that reinforced silicone there around the holes, which definitely gives you a more premium vibe. And then I really like this really cool high density ridge weave nylon. So you do have these beautiful ridges here. It just gives it a little bit more depth. And when I put it with a watch and I pair it with something like this very nice Dirty Dozen style watch from Praecidis, you can see there's texturing on the dial, and that just ties in really well to texturing on the strap. And I just like that. I think it makes it more cohesive. Obviously, in terms of being very military and tactical, this type of reinforced weave looks great. And I mean, my time in the Marine Corps, I can appreciate tactical goods, but I do like the crossover value to where this is also something you can wear casually, and it doesn't feel like you're wearing, you know, a piece of costume jewelry for cosplay. You're like going to Comic-Con and you're, you know, dressed like you're somebody, you know, in World War II. Like, the cool thing is this could be worn absolutely every day, outside of uniform, or I think in a uniform as well. Something like this, of course, is going to be nice and low key. And then, of course, there's other color options. There's actually 10 different color patterns for the Mark III. Another thing that they added here that stands out a little bit more on this one, as you guys can see here, is going to be the reinforcement right there around the buckle end, which looks absolutely fantastic. It makes changing a lot more of a breeze, and it gives you just that extra level of reinforcement, again, that just adds refinement as well as visual cue. I just like, look how clean that looks. I mean, you have the contrast here with the silicone, and then you have this piece here breaking that up a little bit. It just, for me, it just looks nicer. And if you don't like to see the visual break there, you know, kind of tying in to the Deployant buckle, hey, if you get a solid colored one, guess what? It's going to be a solid color, and you're just going to have that nice little shape there, really nice thick weaving. So very cool. And you can see it's actually a different, this is more of a tubular nylon reinforcement there, to get everything to fit very nicely. It's not going to be bunchy. Again, little refinements here and there from folks that are using these out in the field, that are testing them, that are saying, hey, you know, it would be maybe a little bit more comfortable, you know, or would feel a little bit more robust. And I think that this really paid off. And of course, let me give the buckle a little wipe here. Of course, I do wear these straps, so they might have, you know, they might not be in perfect condition, but you guys can see the dual finishing there, the high polished versus the brushing. Very nice triggers there on the Deployant. Very clean, very capable, and again, it's just kind of all around does it. And then the stainless steel Deployant buckles, you do have some other options. You can get a black PVD variant. Again, these can be sold separately. They can be bought with the strap. So if you already have straps, you can get more Deployants, or if you already have an Omega Deployant that's a similar size, right? Let's say in this case, a 20 millimeter width, then boom. You can also, these straps are also available in 18, 20, and 22 specifically for their Nylon Mark III, which is fantastic. You only have just 20 and 22 millimeter for this elastic kind of Marine Nationale style, but man, is this gorgeous. And again, the nice thing is, not only do you get still the look, right? You still get the look of these traditional straps, right? In this case, more the Marine National style. In this case, more of, you know, an RAF or a NATO style strap, depending on which direction you're leaning. But you're not going to get a lot of extra hardware. And also in this case, you're not going to get that snappy, fidgety hardware that sometimes as you're trying to strap it over, it doesn't hook and it can slap back and like hit the crystal of your watch. Like, it's very straightforward. Again, you have a Deployant buckle now, and check that out. It's nice, and you still have the security of that single pass. It's much thinner than a dual pass, right? A single pass isn't going to hurt you, even on a thick mechanical chronograph like this. You can see it still fits beautifully. I mean, thankfully, it's in this case, it is a titanium watch, but it doesn't, like, it's not lifting it off of my wrist by any means. Very secure, even with the give that you get in here. The nice thing is you do have a little bit of, again, support, reinforcements, so it's not going to be too stretchy. Sometimes with these straps, they can be a bit too stretchy. I like how dialed in this is, where you can get a little bit of stretch, and if you want to tighten it up or loosen it up, you have absolutely those options. So very, very nice. And again, nothing fidgety. It's all self-contained. You're still getting that closed loop setup to where if you do have spring bar failure, guess what? Your watch isn't going anywhere. Like, both spring bars would have to fail at that point. So I do like that you do have that level of security. And yeah, these are just cool, guys. Let's go ahead and demo getting them on. Again, very simple. I don't have to cut away or anything like that. Beautiful on wrist. You can see, very nice. Of course, this Raven has some beautiful undercuts there, which do help with thinness, but you can also see that even apart from that, you're not adding thickness. If anything, you're keeping it a little bit off your wrist. In terms of having a piece of metal, you'll have a piece of fabric, which if you have ever worn a long sleeve shirt, then you understand that fabric isn't going to be doing anything bad on your wrist. This is touching your wrist right now, right? And then on the other side, you can get something that's a little bit more plain, a little bit more subtle, right? If you don't want to play Bond today, you can have something like this. Then again, it just gives you a feeling of completion. And I will say, this Dirty Dozen homage from Praesidus, I love it. And honestly, it feels so premium that it's nice to pair it with a strap that just elevates it, right? And it's crazy to say that a nylon strap can elevate the wristwatch wear, but it does in this case, right? You have the texturing ties in, and you have, of course, beautifully finished hardware that also ties in. It's very function forward. Of course, with these types of straps, you're not going to have a taper. Maybe that can be a future thing, is a tapering. Nobody's invented that yet, right? A tapering single pass strap, but I think this is fantastic. And I know there's a lot of brands out there trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to NATO straps. I really like what Brando did with this in terms of doing that deployant buckle style, but still keeping, again, the security and everything that you like about, maybe one thing they could add in the future would be an extra piece if you really want to have the hardware, to have a little bit of hardware on the sides or something like that, right? Like, it'd be a floating piece or something. I don't know. That could be fun. But I think this looks fantastic just the way it is. Of course, everything tucks underneath, so any extra tail here. So if you have a smaller wrist, the nice thing is you don't need a keeper, you don't need to have a tail out, because it's all going to be tucked underneath. And again, now it's just going to be keeping some of that metal off of your skin. So yeah, I dig that. Look at the underside here. Nothing looks unfinished. Everything is just done to a very high level. And no, it's not the cheapest option out there. Will there be there probably already are cheaper variations and knockoffs of this model. But again, this is the original. This is the anchor. It's like when you go, and yes, there are other variations of the Marine National strap, but Erica's originals, right? If you really want to get that, like, she really popularized it. Yes, you can get like the NDC kind of old school if you really want to be, the most authentic, but she really did a great job in terms of Erica, her straps, and just kind of reinvigorating the genre. And I think these are different enough to where you're going to get that look. But again, just another evolution of that Marine National strap. I mean, this would look great underneath a vintage Tudor Snowflake Submariner. Oh man, like, this would be great. And again, it gives you a feeling of refinement. And this is going to come in a lot cheaper than that Erica's Originals. And it's adding to the formula in a really cool way. It's not being a cheaper variation of something that already exists. It's a newer variation of something that was, again, an original idea brought to market by Anker Straps. So in the same way that, hey, this is a Seiko Flightmaster, right? It's not an homage to the Seiko Flightmaster, which I think is cool, right? And although these can be, this is an homage watch, it's a reissue, it also elevates and it creates this cool, it adds fine details like these brushed hands and the beautiful clean hand stack there. Look how nice that is. Look at the raised loom. There's an additional attention to detail, right? Where they're adding something, right? And in the same way with wristwatches, where you want to buy something that adds to the formula of a pilot's chronograph, that adds to the formula of an old school field watch, right? Adds to the formula of a classic big crown, gilt dial Submariner by adding, adding value, adding ceramic, adding modern niceties, right? Also adding attainability, because now you can get them because they're completely unattainable now if you were to buy the original, and really unwearable because of the value proposition. Now you can have something that adds, right? So in this case, in terms of the formula of a nylon strap, hey, Anker's added a lot of value. And again, if you see something that looks and even feels like this, they're not adding value. They're just offering you a cheaper version of this. So I have to support, of course, when somebody comes out and brings something to the market. And I just want that to be known, guys. Like, this is good stuff. He's doing good business. And the reason why innovators like this can exist is because we support them. So, in the same way that I've supported Haviston over the years, Erica's Originals, and countless others, yeah, I mean, if you're a trendsetter, that's awesome. And yeah, there will be, again, some more affordable variations for those that are looking. But for those of you that, can appreciate those niceties, that do want to support, especially with everything that's going on in the world today, right? You want to support local businesses. You want to support enthusiast run businesses versus, some brands, they might have enthusiasts there, but ultimately they're very corporate. In this case, furthest thing from corporate. This is all about a real guy out here doing real stuff. And actually, they're relocating to Oceanside. So I'm in Oceanside. So for me, this is actually supporting a local business, which I think is awesome. But let me know what you all think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please hit like. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.